Hi, this is Lauren with Craft Some Joy. Well, if you're new here to my channel, I just want to give you a warm welcome. And if you are a subscriber, well, then you know you are the heart of my community, and a great big thank you to all of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different because I have been struggling with this question of how I wanted to approach my album making for the year 2020 and beyond. And you may have seen in one of my last videos that I've been doing a lot of introspection, not only about the organization and how I have things set up in my craft room. And if you'd like to learn more about that, you can watch the video that I'll link here above, but also really how I want to get things accomplished this year and this decade. And I don't know what it's been about being in the new year and a new decade, but I have been doing a lot of thinking. And one of those nagging questions that's really been coming up for me is, if I had to start over, if I could start from scratch, how would I scrapbook? How would I organize my projects? And what would I really want to accomplish? So that question has really led me into some wonderful conversations with some wonderful people, and has given me some ideas on really how I'd like to proceed in the coming year, and how I'm actually going to rethink my scrapbooking. So let's talk about that question. Knowing what I know now, having the experience of making over 50 albums and 25 years of scrapbooking, what would I do differently? How would I start over? I would also love to hear your thoughts on this question, so make sure to leave those in the comment section below so we could have a really good talk about all of this. Well, how I would start over was really a loaded question for me, because as I looked at my bookshelves and saw all the albums which I had already completed and the strategy I had started with, I didn't want to feel as though what I had done was not right, or that I was going to kind of abandon what I had started. And so for me, what was most important was to come up with a strategy or a solution that could embrace not only how I've started, but also maybe some changes that I wanted to make in my scrapbooking. And let me just mention that, when I first started scrapbooking, and again, this was many years ago, I was so excited. My goal was to document everything. Every photo, except the really, really bad ones, was going to be in an album. Then two things started to happen. My family started to grow, and my responsibilities with it. And I was taking more and more photos because I had more than just one child. And the digital age hit. So then I was taking more and more photos. So I went from just getting duplicate photos back from a roll of 36 negatives into hundreds, if not thousands, of photographs. Now, along with this busier home life, tons and tons of photos, came one more piece to the puzzle, which was the scrapbooking industry itself. Even though Creative Memories kind of started the memory keeping business, they were not alone, and company after company wanted in on it. And so products just exploded. You could get scrapbooking supplies just about anywhere. The scrapbooking aisles at all the stores just seemed to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This was really the heyday of scrapbooking. So there I was. I had more responsibilities, more photos, and more products to choose from than I could have even imagined. And what happened? I was overwhelmed, frustrated, and I felt stuck for a long, long time. I did keep trying to press on, and I did keep making albums. But in this process, I felt like I was jumping from making my family albums to making vacation albums to trying to keep up the albums that I had started for each of my 4 children. And it was really a struggle. Now, as I have gotten older and my kids have gotten older, a few more things started to happen. I ended up with a little more time, which was wonderful. And I also ended up with perspective, which was also really helpful. I realized that sometimes you need to look backwards in order to look forwards. I needed to look back not just to see my mistakes or failures, but to look back to see opportunities for my future and how I wanted to change things. So I answered the question, how would I start over? As I mentioned, I had some great conversations with my good dear friends, Pam Wynn, Jeanette Ballard, and Maria Finnegan, and also my husband. And I came up not only with an answer, but a plan. First, I really enjoyed having chronological albums. This is what I had started all those years ago for my family. And I really do enjoy looking back at a year as a snapshot. And one of my thoughts was, well, should I keep up with my chronological albums? And after these wonderful conversations, especially the one with my husband, I decided that chronological albums really were going to have a place in my home, and that I did like those chronological albums. But I also realized that keeping up with trying to put every photograph into a chronological album just was not realistic. I wasn't going to get caught up, and I wasn't going to be able to keep up. So then I came up with the idea of Big Moment Scrapbooking for my chronological albums. And that was all I needed. The light bulb went off, and I just knew this was the answer that I needed. I started thinking about what are big moments for me and my family. I also realized that big moments could change from year to year. So one year, Halloween might be a big moment because my kids were young and they had adorable costumes. But as they got older, they may not have even dressed up. So that might not be something to include in my big moments. In addition, some years we might have celebrated a special birthday for a family member, like when my mom turned 70 or when my mother-in-law turned 90. So all of those moments, those are big moments, and those I do want to have documented chronologically. And it's a great way to look back and say, hey, this is what happened during the year. One of the things I realized when I was thinking about big moment chronological scrapbooking was that the ability to narrow in and focus on just the important or the big moments for the year would free me up to leave a lot of other photographs that I could do other really creative things with. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. So I'm not giving up all of those other wonderful photos that were taken during the year. I'm just going to approach those photos differently. So big moments are really those events like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, and those holidays that you celebrate through the year. And those have some consistency. And so it was going to be wonderful to see that in a chronological setup. And I realized that by narrowing that down, I am also going to be able to get many more years into one single album. And that was really exciting for me because I was also looking at my bookshelves and trying to figure out where I was going to put all these wonderful albums that I wanted to make. I already have quite a few albums on my bookshelf, so this was a really important decision that I needed to make, is how I wanted to continue forward for the next decade and also get caught up on the last decade. So that was a really big moment that I was able to say, aha, this is what's going to work for me. Okay, so that's the first part of my plan. I'm not going to give up chronological scrapbooking, but instead I'm going to take a different approach and just look at my big moments and the special events throughout the years and condense my chronological albums. Okay, the second thing. And sometimes I think that we get a little tap on the shoulder that's saying, hey, pay attention to this. It's interesting, over the last few weeks, I had a couple reminders about the Library of Memories system to scrapbooking. This was originally created by Stacy Julian, and if you'd like to learn a little bit more in detail about the Library of Memories, then you can do that at stacyjulian.com, and her website is full of resources and information. But I'm going to give you just kind of an overview on how I'm going to approach the Library of Memories. If you haven't heard about Library of Memories, you might be asking, well, what is Library of Memories? And this approach to scrapbooking is really unique and different. And what it is it's looking at all of your photos, kind of as a whole. And it's important to remember that with all of these other photographs that you have, all of these wonderful miscellaneous everyday life photographs, that you can scrapbook some of them, but you're not going to scrapbook all of them. And again, remember that perspective piece? That is what I really needed to hear. I am not going to be able to put every single photograph into an album. That is just not possible. So if we can't do that, then how do we continue with our scrapbook projects? So the Library of Memories actually categorizes all that leftover, all those wonderful, wonderful leftover pictures into 4 different categories. And those categories are things we do, places we go, people we love, and all about us. Now I'm going to get into all the details on how I'm setting up my own Library of Memories, but I'm going to save that for another video. And today I just want to give you an overview of the system. So in all of those 4 categories, you have the wonderful opportunity to take a look at all of these extra pictures that you've taken over the years and make connections through time. And so if you have photos of your child when they were 5 getting their very first bike and photos of your child when they were 15 doing dirt bike riding, you can make connections over time with these photographs. So you're going to look at your photographs kind of as a melting pot, if you will, of all your different memories throughout time. And then start making connections and start making really meaningful pages. And that's what spoke to me when I learned about the Library of Memories system. Scrapbooking has always had a very meaningful component to me. It wasn't just about the craft. It was really about documenting life and what was important to me and what was important to our family and kind of how we lived, what our story was. And that is so important. So Library of Memories really does speak to the importance of documenting your story and making those connections and making meaningful scrapbook pages. And that's the why I've decided to set that up. And I'm really, really excited about this. I have already started kind of pulling photographs out and putting them in all these different categories. And I'm already seeing those pages form in my head. So I'm super excited and I can't wait to share more with you on that system. Okay, so there's number 1, chronological, Big Moment Scrapbooking, and number 2, Library of Memories Scrapbooking, to take care of all the rest of those really wonderful but miscellaneous photographs. Now, there's also a 3rd category in my plan, and that is the theme albums. And those are always going to have a place in the way I scrapbook. So for my theme scrapbooks, I am doing a Christmas album, which is going to show Christmas over time. I love doing our vacation albums, and you've seen some of those books in my videos, as well as some other theme projects. And these types of albums just kind of seem to pop in over time. And one of those is a heritage book that I'm working on with my mother-in-law. Now that's very important. It's kind of popped itself to the top of my priority list. And you need to have the flexibility with whatever your plan is in order to do what's important to you at the moment. And so those theme albums definitely will always have a place in my home. Now, also in the theme category are books for my kids, which include their school books and their all about books. And so those are also books that I'm working on keeping current and updated. And as I mentioned, I'll share more of that in future videos. Okay, so that's it. 1, 2, and 3. That answers the question not only of how I would start over, if I could start over fresh from the very beginning, but also how I want to approach my album making projects from now on. Now, in order to make this all happen, I have been doing a lot of behind the scenes thinking and creating some forms. And I've decided that I would like to do a series that will show how I am tackling this project step by step, what I'm doing, and most of all, whether it's working for me. And I'm going to call this series Progress on Projects, or POP. And I'm really excited about this because I feel like so many pieces of what I have been struggling with over the years when I have tried to tackle all of my albums and tried to make progress and just tried to feel good about how I'm scrapbooking. A lot of these pieces have finally kind of been put together so that I have a good, doable strategy that I feel so happy and content with. So if you're interested in joining me, I would love to hear it. Make sure you leave a comment below whether you would like to join me on Progress on Projects. And so far, I have 5 videos planned that will take us through this process. I have created some new printables, including this timeline tracker and some other really important forms that you can add right into your disc-bound organizers. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll make sure to link it here. So I'm also going to show you exactly how I have everything organized in order to approach my album making in this way. I've used power sort boxes available from Creative Memories, and I am using 4 of them. Yes, that's a lot, but I do need 4. These power sort boxes are going to organize with my photo folders added. They are going to organize my library of memories, my Big Moment chronological albums, and also my theme albums. So I needed 2 boxes for my library of memories, 1 box for my Big Moment scrapbooking, and 1 box for my theme albums. So if you want to join me and you want to get a head start, make sure you order 4 of those boxes, and you can do that on the website that I've supplied in the description box. And make sure you go to my website at craftsomejoy.com and print out a whole bunch of photo folders and fold them up, because you're going to need a lot of them and we're going to get busy. I will also be sharing my journey into this type of album making on my Instagram. So if you haven't popped over to check that out, it is at craft.some.joy. over on Instagram, and you can check my behind the scenes look at what I'm doing in my craft room. So I really hope you will join me on my Progress on Projects journey. And if you are, make sure you leave that comment below. And I would also, again, love to hear, what is your answer to the question, how would you start over? Knowing everything that you know now about scrapbooking and about life and about your family, what would you do differently? I've been able to share how I've answered that question, but I'd also love to hear how you might answer it too. Well, I'm going to get started getting ready for our first episode 1 of our Progress on Projects journey. So until next time, I hope you take time to craft some joy. Bye for now.